It's Preview Night at San Diego. Do you know where your comic retailer is? They're probably in San Diego getting free stuff, if I had to guess. But it's Preview Night at San Diego Comic Con, and tonight, Jay and I, who are not at San Diego Comic Con, are going to try to answer all of your questions about San Diego and all the other conventions, and any questions you have, big, small, middle-sized, about comic conventions and specifically San Diego. We're also going to talk about news that we know is coming out of San Diego, news we think we might hear, and what kind of craziness we hope to hear out of San Diego Comic-Con this year. I'll give you a hint. I'm hoping to hear that they've invented time travel. What's up, the internet? It's producer Kyle. That is Jay. Welcome in to Kyle and Jay's Q&A, the show where you have Q's, we have A's. We try to A your Q's.
Sounds about right.
Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Well, everybody, it is preview night at San Diego Comic-Con tonight. The show itself kicks off tomorrow. And as always, I imagine many of you have questions about what is happening there at the San Diego Comic-Con. What do we expect here? What do we know already? Those kind of things. So we want you to ask us about those things. And we will try to answer them, but we're also going to go over what we know is going to come out of San Diego, what we expect to hear, things like that. And TJ, if I would not have this thing in my arm. So, meh. All right. Well, so let's start here. Jay, you really have only ever done Comic Palooza, right? It's really the only convention you've ever really done.
Comic Palooza and Dallas Fan Expo.
Oh yeah, Fan Expo Dallas. I forgot about that. That's a good one. So, between us, we've got varying degrees of con experience. I have many cons under my belt, and Jay has 3. But we will do our best to answer your questions about Comic-Con, San Diego or otherwise, about what you can expect, what you should see, what all of those things. But let's start with the news. There are some things already announced coming out of San Diego Comic-Con. And I want to give a shout out to our friends at The Beat and Mad Cave for making sure that... Ooh, sorry. I went to move my foot and grabbed my camera accidentally. Okay. Anyhow, we want to make sure that we're shouting them out as well as Mad Cave as we talk about these things from San Diego. The first thing is there's a diamond booth at San Diego. There is a diamond booth at San Diego. Why does that matter? Not 100% sure, but it seems to matter a lot to very few people. Do you have any thoughts, Jay?
Oh boy. Feels kind of brave with things that have been going on. Feels kind of brave or stupid, however you want to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't envy the people running that booth. I can tell you that. I don't envy them because I don't think a lot of people are too happy.
Right? Yeah, the booth is near the bathroom.
Recipe for disaster.
Diamond Select Toys is not there. But the Diamond booth has things for has branding for Kotobukiya, Joy Toy, Haya 30, the Good Smile Company, another company whose name I can't really make out, and WizKids. So they are apparently set up and trying to do something there at San Diego. What are they trying to do? I have no way of knowing. It does seem a bit out of touch, TJ. You're right. It does seem a bit out of touch. Now, let's just play devil's advocate for just a moment, right? Was the booth paid for before everything went down? Did they say we'll have a booth there next year, last year, before all of this happened? Are they just fulfilling that promise? Are they going to be there to kind of answer questions from people about this? Like to kind of speak to people? I don't know. I don't know what their intent is. But they do have a booth there. It does look pretty sparse. It is near the can.
Goodness.
Yeah. Up next, Tokyo Pop announced they're doing some exclusives of Nightmare Before Christmas, Amphibia, Stitch, Battle for the Pumpkin King, Zero's Journey, Mirror Moon, Stitch Stories from Izuyakoi Island, and Stitch Best Food Forever. So they will have those exclusives. We're seeing more and more of the manga companies having a big presence at San Diego. So it'll be fun to watch those things. For lack of a better word, play out.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else do we have? Daniel Warren Johnson. Is there pushing comic book couples counseling? Which is a thing that we found out about at Comics Pro, right? So the idea is comic book couples counseling is this podcast that helps people, again, like understand how to put people with comic books, not necessarily how to couple better, because we all know, right? Sorry. We all know that Jenna is never going to be happy with the amount of comics she has, and Jay is always going to have to move them.
Yep. That's 100% correct.
So, no, it's about how to put people with comics, which I think is a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
Distillery and Neon Ichiban have some big announcements, some panels, and some live drawing. The thing about Neon Ichiban, and we'll probably have a conversation about Neon Ichiban here on the show in the future, is that it really has an interesting concept in terms of what they're offering you to be the ability to be able to do online with digital comics. But as of now, it seems like the rollout is a little ham-fisted. We'll have to wait and see what happens with Neon Ichiban. But they're stealing SketchUp from Melon Mog and doing it at the show. They're not really, but they are in a way, in that they're doing live drawing shows there at the show. Black Mass Studios will debut a new issue of its Calexit series at Comic-Con, with all the proceeds going to benefit families affected by the ongoing ice raids via Alliance San Diego's Immigration Relief Fund. So, Calexit, which was a book about California seceding from the Union, was very popular for them. They did really well with it. And so they're bringing it back, adding a new issue, and doing a bunch of fundraising to affect the affected by the ice raids. Abrams. Finally, Abrams Books announced a full schedule for the first time in a long time. Abrams as the people who published Star Wars High Republic, The Reckoning of Roku, Avengers, some of the Avengers graphic novels, but they also do like the art books, like The Art of Superman, the new movie, or The Art of Charlie Brown.
Oh.
They also publish, in a way, they're not the only person who does it. Fantagraphics does it. Several other people do it. They publish the books that are art. So not necessarily superhero, but things like The Parable of the Sower, or some of these Damian Duffy and John Jennings collaborations generally are from Abrams. So I think they do a good job representing the book market in this space. So no, the old school Art of Star Wars books from 20 or 30 years ago was DK. Abrams does more like the coffee table style books. Like the real heavy duty fancy ones. So those are the big news that have been reported just today from San Diego. But we've had news break over the course of the last week, which is cool. Right? So we want to make sure we talk about those things. For sure. And one of them is what TJ asked about, and we'll get to that in a minute. But we're also seeing other small announcements from other companies that may be worth noting in the future once we find out more about them. Alien Books did a new project and unveiled some stuff, like a new logo. We're seeing Magma Comics announcing some new things, as well as Rocket Ship Entertainment, Ahoy, and others on that level, right? But so Mad Cave celebrating Speed Racer and Flash Gordon is a big deal at San Diego this year. So to answer TJ's question, which is specifically, well, I like the announcement art and such. Do you think there really is any gas left in the Buffy verse for Dynamite? I'm going to answer two separate questions here, TJ. Do I think there's gas left in the Buffyverse? Yes. Do I think it's at Dynamite? No. I love Nick. I love what Dynamite, and I love what they've been able to do with some of the nostalgia properties they have. The only place the Buffyverse should be in comics is at Dark Horse.
Interesting.
They've proven their ability to add to the mythos rather than just capitalize on the nostalgia. So much of what Dynamite has done, even very successfully with things like Gargoyles and things like Herculoids and some of that stuff, is capturing the nostalgia, but not really add to the mythos. Right? They haven't really told new stories. They've just sort of recaptured what made you like the old stories. And there's nothing wrong with that. But Dark Horse has been moving the ball down the field for years. I think they're who I would trust with it. But again, I'd be interested to see what Dynamite does. So,
yeah, because Kelly Thompson.
Yep.
Is that who's right?
Right. Like, and I will say this: they brought in the right team to work on it. Like, so that is obviously going to be a huge. Jay, I saw your little half-ass yeet. I need a full yeet from you, sir. Thank you. No, I think they brought in the right team to work on it, right? Just because I don't believe there's gas left in that tank outside of Dark Horse doesn't mean that there isn't gas left there. And if anybody can find it, it's Kelly Thompson.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I agree with you on that. I will say, and I said it on Comic Collectibles earlier. I'm a little more excited because I was a little more into Supernatural. I'm actually really excited to see what they do with that book. If they're going to do like a Monster of the Week kind of thing, or if they're going to make an overall arc like that, kind of like how they did in the show. I'm really excited to see what they do with that one because it's been a minute since we had some Supernatural comics.
I think there's a lot more play for Supernatural. Right? I think Supernatural is an easier fit, especially at Dynamite. Because you can go in some directions that otherwise you can't go. Right? I think Buffy is still so tightly hemmed in that if you're going to expand the mythos, you've got to do it in the way they've been traditionally doing it.
Right.
So it makes me worried. At the same time, you saw Sarah Michelle Gellar announced that they were working on something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. Are they bringing back Buffy to the screen? And if they are, will that translate to comics the way we want it to? And if it does, then I think there's probably a lot of gas left in the tank. Wow, Jeremy, I was not prepared for that specific question tonight, man. I was expecting people to be like, so at Comic-Con, what flavored pizzas do they have? Jeremy asks, here's a real question from a retailer point of view regarding Buffy the Vampire Slayer et al. What do they do with the reprint rights for the older material, which is now totally out of print? That's a good question. Like, does Dynamite get the Dark Horse back catalog? Does Dark Horse get the back catalog? Does Dark Horse bother to publish it? Does this become a Dark Horse's Star Wars stuff where it's just out there and we're all clamoring for it and it's nowhere to be found? I don't know. I really don't. But it's an interesting question. Because there's so much of that old school stuff that I totally would want to get in a trade paperback now. In a graphic novel that's just not available. That's the question I will be looking for answers to that I don't have because I hadn't thought about it yet. Right. Typically they do. But then the new license holder has to then do something with them. Right? Nikki would have to decide to reprint a lot of that stuff.
Was that what happened with Thundercats? Didn't they do that with Thundercats?
They did some of it, yeah. And they did some of it with Gargoyles too. So I think if it's worth it for Nikki to reprint them, I think he can really put a big balloon under this and sail it pretty far. I think if he doesn't reprint them, there will be a lot of people who are like, I don't need more Buffy. It's old. It's tired. It hasn't gone anywhere. If the show comes back, I think that will provide a boost as well. Or there's a film, or there's something. Now, if it turns out Sarah Michelle Gellar posted a picture of her Buffy the action figure, and said doing stuff, and they're actually just making another Scooby-Doo movie, then we have a problem. But
I think it's a show. I think it's a show.
I do too, but again, it could be Scooby-Doo. So Freddie Prinze is off that WWE show for a while, so like they could make a Scooby-Doo movie. Just saying. But no, I think there's a lot that can go into making this successful. I think this is the right time to announce it. I just don't know without without printing a bunch of material that hasn't been printed in a while, without the help of the show, without a number of factors, you're going to have a hell of a fight up the hill. Jeremy says, Nick is the master of leveraging reprints like that. I think he will do fine, but it's still an open question. Right. And I hadn't thought to ask him. Right. This is what I'm saying. Dark Horse and IDW are the two publishers I trust to expand Mythos, right? Like what they've done with Serenity for Firefly, what they've done with Buffy, what they did with Dollhouse, what they've done with so many of these other properties right in that realm, right? The Joss Whedon of it all. To keep those franchises alive, despite the fact that the person who created and ran most of them turns out as a monster. To do all of that has proven tough, but they've done a hell of a job with it. So I would like them to keep doing it, but I'll be interested to see what Dynamite can pull out. I have no idea. I'm sure. So I'm sure it's not owned by a network anymore. Unknown. I'm sure it's owned by a studio. So whether that studio has a exclusive or an upfront with a network, I'm sure it's like it's held by Warner Brothers Studios or one of those a production house that will create something and then shop it to networks for pickup. Kind of that old school methodology. Workington says Dark Horse is weak on its current Ghostbusters run. Well, its current Ghostbusters run isn't. I don't think it's supposed to be all that strong. And what I mean by that is, I think this is supposed to be fun and goofy Ghostbusters that you can pop in, pop out of. I don't think they're looking to like create huge mythos or create huge, mythology around the new Ghostbusters. I think they're just looking to have some fun with it while they can.
It looks like, because I went to look it up because I was curious, the Buffyverse is owned by 20th Century Studios.
Which is different than 20th Century Fox. Which means Buffy is not technically a Disney princess.
Mm.
All right.
I knew I heard something about that, Rich.
Right. I'm guessing though they'll probably try. Hulu will probably try again to get it direct line. On TV somewhere, right? Like it'll come out on Hulu and then it'll air on TNT, yada 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 yada. They're not anymore though, Wonkington. They were for years, and then they fractured. What was it, 2-3 years ago, Jay?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
It really doesn't matter. I don't know who that is, Rich. Right, first run syndication. Thank you, TJ. Right, they're going to try to get it on TNT, or they're going to try to get it on HBO or one of those to run on TV after it hits Hulu the first time. We'll see. I would like to see them pick up a deal with it was a Fox show to begin with, right? So I would like to see them pick up a deal with Fox where they do like HBO is doing, where it launches on Max at the same time it launches on HBO. Right, where it's live on Hulu the same time it's live on Fox, like on a Friday night. Something like that would be super cool. Just because it would give it that old nostalgia feel.
Yeah.
All right. Briefly, Jeremy asked a question earlier, and I want to tell everybody. Jeremy Shore of Titan Comics, who was here in the chat, Jeremy will be joining me on Friday on the FOC show to talk about FOC this week. We don't have a guest. We do not have a guest, but I'm going to talk to Jeremy about his years as comic book retailer and, how he approaches FOC maybe differently than Matthias and I do and things like that. But mainly, we're just going to talk about great comic books and maybe some not so great comic books, depending on how cool the covers are. There is a Dead Man cover this week on FOC that is just so gorgeous that I want to make it the number one in the top 10. But there's another cover that beats it out, and it makes me angry. I will give you a hint, everybody. It's from the same publisher. TJ James, a little off topic, but let's say Buffy's return is successful. What do you think it means for the possibility of return of other properties like Babylon 5? I don't. So Nick gets tired of me asking him these questions. Well, because I'll see a rerun of something, or I'll catch I'll get like an earworm for a show in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll just be thinking about a show or something, and I'll text Nick, who has the license for because I think I've got a story for it or whatever. And Nick will be like, I don't know. Leave me alone.
I know.
Or he'll answer if he knows. By the way, I was looking for the license for Rocky and Bullwinkle the other day. So working it, I am in the hospital. Wonkington.
Yeah, I keep asking about Greatest American Hero.
Right. Greatest American Hero is another great one. So I'd love to see some of those come back, but right, I think you have to devise what is the best fit for each company and what's the best for each license, for each IP, right? The fact that Flash Gordon is coming back but is going to Mad Cave is a much better fit for Mad Cave than necessarily if it would have gone to Dynamite. Speed Racer, I think, is a much better fit at Mad Cave than it would have been at Oni Press. Things like that. So I think whether or not Babylon 5, Deep Space, any of these, Space Family Robinson come back, right? To go real old school on our references here. I get behind it. Anyhow, whether or not they come back, I think is largely just dependent on the right situation. I've been begging Nick to let me go with him to licensing convention every year, just because I want to see it. But it's not happened yet. But I imagine it would be fascinating to see kind of how these things are approached. Jeremy, I'm not on any pain meds. I have no pain other than the fact that I have to sit with my leg up so my hips hurt. Right? Like I have to sit in this recliner with all the way up. And so it's like I'm sitting in an L shape.
Ugh.
My body is not meant to bend like that because I am a fact. Wonkington, I had a little bit of a setback after a little bit of some medical procedure that went down. I'm here just getting those setbacks taken care of. Hopefully out by Friday. I don't know what to do with that. Greatest American Hero would be a fun comic. They could let him find some of the instructions for the suit as he goes along. I'd be in for that ride. Yeah, I I still haven't seen Superman, so we have to do them both. Anyway, I could get behind that one, but I think again you have to make him look right. I think you have to handle that IP right. But it could be really fun.
Yeah.
So we were really going to talk about Comic-Con. I'm liking what we're doing. I'll be real honest.
Yeah. Because literally what I was going to say, because I've never been to San Diego Comic-Con, that is kind of a bucket list item for me. I know how people who have been there, I know their feelings on it most of the time. I wouldn't go to that one necessarily looking for comics. I would love for one time to be in Hall H during all the Marvel, DC, what have you presentations. That's the reason that I want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I want comics, I stick to the local ones around Texas. So just once. Just once. I know I just want to do it once just to say I was there.
Well, I'll be honest, we weren't necessarily talking about San Diego, Jeremy. We were talking about Comic-Cons in general. And I had some questions that I was going to ask the chat about Comic-Cons in general. Hey, the one time I went too many people. One day I'd love to go. I haven't been to San Diego since 2016. And to be honest, I'm really happy I'm not there this year. Rich says, my greatest San Diego Comic-Con experience was getting Predaking for a great price. Yeah, that's kind of the thing about it, is that it's... we're going to talk about C2E2 in a second, Wonky. Anyway, I haven't been because it's too expensive. There's too many people, and there's not enough work to be done. It's, for me at least, for what it would cost for me to go to San Diego, I can do C2E2, Motor City, a bunch of small local cons, Baltimore, Space in DC, Awesome Con, and probably New York, all for the same amount of money. So it's one of those that for me to go to San Diego doesn't make any sense. But the thing about San Diego is that it is this mythological beast at this point. It's not even really a Comic-Con anymore. It's more of a mythological creature. So that's why we talk about it, right? Is it's the con. It's like back in the day what New York Fan Fair was, or Motor City Triple Fan Fair. It would be amazing to go as an artist, but I'd be lying if I didn't want to go as a fan. Right, Tracy? I mean, that's a whole thing. Well, so Wonkington, there is that much of a cost difference for me, right? If I come to Chicago to do a show, like I can crash with Henri. If I go to Baltimore, I have a place to stay. If I go to New York, I have a place to stay. I go to Motor City, I just drive home and sleep in my own bed every night. Like it's only a 45-minute drive. I've done worse. So, but at all of those shows, I can do a lot more work. TJ and I met at Baltimore Comic-Con. I can get a lot more work done at a Baltimore Comic-Con, at a retailer event at a Baltimore Comic-Con, or at a retailer event at Three Rivers or Motor City or C2E2. So it becomes more cost effective for me to go to them because I have a higher ROI, return on investment. That said, there is nothing quite like being in Hall H. There is nothing quite like walking onto that show floor on Thursday morning at San Diego. There is something special about the energy about what we all love that is at no other con as clear, as present, and as energizing. The only experience I have close is opening the show floor at Gen Con. Right? At San Diego, it's different. But at Gen Con, everybody packs into the main concourse to start the show, and they cut the ribbon on the show, which is they open the show floor, the vendor hall, but then people don't necessarily go to the vendor hall. They take off and they go to their game sessions, right? They go to their different gaming rooms where they need to be to play their games. But the energy in that space when it's hot and thick and you can't move, and there's just a lot of people there really excited about gaming, is as close as I can describe the feeling to being in Hall H when something drops, or walking into the show floor on Thursday morning at San Diego. New York is close. Don't get me wrong. But it's become a mythological creature. San Diego Comic-Con has become the Shire or whatever. Like it's its own thing that exists in and of itself. It's not even really that anymore, Ed. Marvel and DC don't have a presence there. They save a lot of that stuff for D23 for the Warner investor meetings. So it's not even really that anymore.
I think DC is going to be there just pushing Peacemaker this year.
Right. I haven't been to Steel City since I got banned. Yeah, I haven't been to Steel City in years. Three Rivers all the way. Shout out to Todd. So I think I know the answers to the question, so I'm going to ask on you. Let's hit a little bit more news that we know is coming out of San Diego. Drawn and Quarterly. If you're into the Drawn and Quarterly stuff, there's a lot of Walter Scott and Mimi Pond stuff as they look towards their the release of what's that book? What's Your Flavor? But they'll also have What's Your Flavor? The Story of My Life graphic novels, and some See You in the Funny Paper stuff all happening. Again, I know not everybody reads the Drawn and Quarterly stuff like I do, but it's nice to see some old school traditional cartooning represented. Kodansha will be revealing some new up-and-coming manga from the people who did Ghost in the Shell and Ashita Nojo. So that will be worth watching for those kind of things. They also have nominations for some awards this weekend. Dark Horse is going to have a bunch of stuff about Stranger Things, Umbrella Academy, and Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Why are they doing things about Cyberpunk Edgelords? I don't know. They are okay. There's one I want, and I did send someone after it. Okay. If they get it, I will be happy. If they don't get it, I won't be shocked. They are doing an exclusive at the show that is a Hellboy skateboard deck.
Ooh.
That's the original Mignola with the big horns Hellboy piece of art. They're also going to be announcing new things with Cyberpunk 2077, Mass Effect, more Hellboy, more Minor Threats, and Usagi Yojimbo celebrating its 40th anniversary at this year's show. All right. Ignition Press. This is a company that I'm very hyped up on. This is Philip Sablick, who for a long time was at Boom Studios, and a couple of other people whose names you probably don't know, but you've definitely read things they've worked on or are responsible for. This is the new publisher they're launching at San Diego. They are going to have announcements from Cullen Bunn and Jeremy Holt, as well as Leah Williams, Stephanie Williams, and Tim Seeley. So be watching for those announcements. We don't know what they're going to be doing yet, so it's going to be very interesting to see kind of the direction they go with the new publisher there. They're breaking into publishing, even though these guys have been in publishing for years, at a really weird time. So it'd be interesting to see. Also, like, they threw a party at Comics Pro, and they had like these hors d'oeuvres that went around, and one of them was really gross, but really there was another one that was really tasty. And I just, every time I think about it, I feel like I'm going to be sick. Okay. If you're paying attention, Bad Idea is back, but they're behaving much more like a regular publisher should behave, which is good. So they are going to be at San Diego announcing their next run of things after Planet Death and Cul-de-sac are over. They'll be announcing their next run of things there at San Diego. I love Dinesh. But at this point, for me, Bad Idea feels like that abusive relationship you keep going back to because you know they're going to, but better to know they're going to than to not. It's like Jeremy said, they're just faking us out. What, Jay?
That's the same thing I said about Valiant.
It's true.
A Toxic X.
Right. It's true, though. I mean, look, there's a level of, and it happened with the 404 edition of The Future Is from Recca. Once you took the genie out of the bottle that was Bad Idea, it erodes that trust so much. Right? The Bad Idea concept was set out to prove that if you do things the same way you've always done things, you always get the same results. But if you change the way you do things, you might get different results. And they did that. But now nobody trusts the results anymore. So we'll have to see again how that plays out.
The saddest part to me about both places, about Bad Idea and Valiant, is it's not like they put out terrible books. Like Planet Death, that copy that I got, that book is amazing. But unfortunately, there's that stigma still behind Bad Idea that I don't think people are going to be into it. And that makes me sad.
Right. If you paint with stink, you're going to smell. And that's kind of how I feel about a lot of the things that Bad Idea has done. Now, I will say this. The current iteration of Bad Idea with Sienna and with Dinesh and with the way they're doing things, I feel like they're in a good position to be not that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Clean. I don't know that Valiant is.
Yeah.
But let's keep going. Biker Mice from Mars. The Nacelle Company is announcing 2 new Biker Mice from Mars action figures and sets of action figures at San Diego. I don't know that this is a thing that's going to happen, but would you like to see Biker Mice from Mars toys back in stores? Do you think there's a market for nostalgia action figures? Especially that doesn't have anything going for it right now.
I mean, there could be. I tell you what, me personally, I'm not really an action figure person anymore. I'm more of a statue person. If they put out a Biker Mice from Mars statue, I'd be all over it. I'd be all over it because, I'm sitting here. I'm thinking about the next thing. Where's my Toxic Crusaders? Where's my SWAT cats? My Cowboys of Moo Mesa? Where's all those like one-off cartoons from back in my childhood? Just bring them all back. You make statues or comics out of them, I'll at least get an issue of the comic. But statues, I'm all about statues.
Right. So do you think there's a market, chat? Do you think there's a market for action figures that appeal to us now as grown old people of things that we couldn't have when we were kids? Because, like, I'll tell you right now, the retractable plastic Wolverine claws that you'd go like this, you wear them on your hands and they'd shoot out, that I was never allowed to have because my mom knew full well I'd poke my eye out. If they were to start remaking them things, I would be second in line to buy them.
That's true.
We'll give you guys a second thing of that. San Diego or Titan Comics is announcing new Conan, Blade Runner, and Rebel Moon. So again, Dan Panosian doing more on Conan the O'Brien, and Savage Sword of Conan the O'Brien. Pat Zurcher is doing more Solomon Kane. We're gonna have Heat Seeker, and at least in the covers I'm seeing, she is clothed. King Kong, more of Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, which I don't know that anybody wants. Bloodborne, they're expanding the Bloodborne mythos as well there at Titan Comics.
Well, you best believe if I could get one of those voice activated Transformers they got, I'd be all about it. All about it.
Autobots roll out, and then it just moves.
Yes.
I don't know. I think I'd be freaked out. Why is my toy haunted? All right. Image Comics. They have a bunch of exclusives that are coming to the show, but some of them that are really interesting to me are them going back to number ones on Exquisite Corpses from Tinian, Assorted Crisis Events, and The Unchosen, while also having Luna Vetchko's Doll Parts, a new print of that. I think going back to the number ones for the exclusives is good because it's not something that like people can't get. You know, they're like what's they're looking for? The books, the number ones are actually sold out, but now it's something that people will be able to get. So I mean, those are the big news. Like we could go into Oni and IDW and that kind of stuff, but those are the kind of the big ones that I wanted to kind of sort out. That new Lego Soundwave looks so cool. Yeah, I'll tell you, I had a conversation with my brother-in-law yesterday, and now I was on some pretty heavy anesthetic yesterday. I'm gonna be honest, but I says to him, and I stand by the statement: if they ever make a Lego Owl Bear, an officially licensed Lego Owl Bear, I think that'll be the first time that there is no object. There is no price too high for me to buy. Just saying. All right, guys, we got about 10 minutes left because I can only sit like this for so long. So does anyone have any questions about the coming week on the EXP, about San Diego Comic-Con, about Comic-Cons in general, does anybody have any questions about anything they've read or heard?
Life-size owlbear.
Life-size owlbear would be way too big. I don't know where I would keep him, but I would take one. Find a place. All right, guys. Well, then we're going to wrap up even just a few minutes early. If you have questions, throw them in the chat and we'll answer them. But tomorrow at 7, Liam is here filling in for Miss Jen, who's at San Diego. We'll be doing 90s trivia and comics that are older than Liam, because Liam was born after that. Then I will be on Garside tomorrow night at 8:30 from 8:30 to 10 doing the Geek Chat, and then Mel and Mog will be here tomorrow night from 10 to midnight with SketchUp. How much drinking do you guys do at cons? None. You can't do work when you're drunk, and of course, as someone who's 10 and a half years sober, I don't drink ever for any reason.
Yeah. And I'm
In
not
the old
a drinker.
I still didn't drink. Just because, again, it's really hard to be having a conversation about business with somebody and like not remember it the next day and have them remember it, or them not remember it and you remember it. So I try to avoid that at all costs. Although BarCon is some of the most fun you'll ever have in your life. Playing drunk chicken with like creators is always great. Things like that, always a good time. How do you feel about the current deal with creators charging for autographs? I don't care. They're at a show to make money. If you bring them books to sign and they want to charge you for them, that's how they make their money. I have no problem with that. I think there's a big problem, and there was a independent, or there was a dealer who kind of brought this up because somebody refused to cut him a deal on signature prices, and it made the price so high that he couldn't sell the books, right, if he'd done it. If you're taking time from a creator off the show floor, if you're taking time, like if you're going up to their table on the show floor and saying, will you sign these books? If you have a book or two and they're like, it's going to be $20, I can see being frustrated by that. If you have, more than that, though, you're potentially standing in for between them and somebody else who wants to buy something from them. So you have to compensate them for their time. What I like to do, especially if I'm going to bring a lot of books for somebody, like I did with Tom Waltz at Cherry Capital, is set up a time off the show floor. Hey, can I meet you for coffee in the morning? Hey, can I buy you lunch? Hey, can I buy you dinner? Can we meet up at the after party and do this signing? And what would you charge me for doing it then? So they still have their full day to make their money at their table. They're not getting interrupted by me with my short box of books. And then we get to have a little bit of a one-on-one while the signing is happening. So again, I have no problem with creators signing for autographs. I think the problem is that dealers often think they're entitled to something that they're not entitled to.
So we had Chip Zdarsky, and Sean really wanted a signature from him. Now, he was told, if I personalize it, it's free. But if he's just putting a signature on it, he's going to charge. And I think part of the reason they also do that is books like that most times end up on eBay for a ridiculous price. Sean got it personalized, but he was like, I still want to pay you. But I thought that was really cool. If it's personalized to you, he was going to do it for free. But if you were just going to get just a signature, he was going to charge for it.
Right. So Tom Waltz did a cool thing at Cherry Capital. First book is free. Any additional book is $5. Right? First book is free. Done. My favorite one is Glenn Fabry, right? Who would sign as much as you want, but for every 10 books you had to buy him a pint, which was super fun. Because it meant getting Glenn Fabry a little bit soggy at a small convention in Michigan. So that was a good time. Can't fault a creator charging money equivalent to the going rate for their signature on various marketplaces, right? If people are legitimately paying X dollars for creator Y's signature, then why shouldn't he be able to charge that amount for a signature? I don't know what you're talking about, TJ. Like, are you the publisher of that book? Like, if you're the publisher and you paid that artist to make that book, you paid that creator to make that book, and then you want signed comps or something, that's something you have to negotiate when you make the deal. But for me to go up to somebody who's been paid to create work and say, sign this work, is not fair. That'll be like me going up to Taylor Swift and saying, I bought your record. I should get to come to your concert for free. Doesn't make any damn sense. Right? Did his signature get illegible? No, because we didn't drink until after the show. You didn't take a drink until after the show was over. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense to say you've already been paid for this work once. You should just sign it. You should just sign it all willingly. No. How else is that guy going to make back the cost of him going to that convention? How else is that guy going to make back the cost of him buying markers? How else is that guy going to make back the cost of what it costs for him to, again, do the work? We all know page rates aren't high, man. We all know that word counts or word prices aren't high. So to say they've been paid for it once is bullshit. Right? They were paid by a publisher to do a job. They were not paid by you for the comic. They were not paid by you for the work they did. They were paid by the publisher. You bought the comic, and now you want it signed. Well, again, I say again, this is the equivalent of going to Taylor Swift and saying, hey, I bought your record. I should get to come to your concert for free. Or, hey, Lions football player, I bought your jersey. I should get to come to a game for free. That isn't how it works. And again, just a fan becomes just a pain in the ass real quick. Right? I know guys who are just a fan who walk up to tables with 50 books for somebody to sign. I know guys who are just a fan who will bogart an artist's entire time because they think they're entitled to that, and they're not. So let them charge what they're going to charge. And if it means more people get through the circle, then that's fine. But they will usually sign the jersey for free at a game. Sure, they will. But at the same time, if you go to them at an autograph signing, you're going to pay for their autograph. Right? So again, it's like saying, I went to the game for free. Now I'm going to come to this. I want to go to the game for free and come to this autograph signing and have you sign my thing for free. Like, how do you expect these guys to make money? How do you expect them to earn a living? Right? Being able to charge for your signature, being able to charge for your original art, being able to charge for your comp copies. This is how these guys make their living. Sure, they get paid for the work they've made, but that's not always enough. It's why, like, I do live sales, right? Like, sure, I get paid by the EXP for being the executive producer of the EXP, but that isn't always enough to pay all my bills. That isn't always enough to live on. So I have to do a live sale. Right. They do get paid regardless. And again, I can remember spending $50 a signature for Eddie George's autograph before his rookie year in the NFL. I can remember spending $100 a piece for Cal Ripken autographs at an autograph signing. Hell, I do shows every year with Mickey Lolich, who played for the Tigers, and that guy charges $20 a piece for a signature. Nobody knows who he is anymore. But old school Tigers fans show up with their baseball cards and their baseballs to get them signed at $20 a signature. That's how that guy makes his money. The only irritation I have, and it's a small one, is you pay to get in, you buy their stuff, you buy their autograph, and then they want to charge you $50 for a selfie on your own phone. Little Matt. I've never met a creator that wants to charge you $50 for a selfie on your own phone. And I'll be honest, most of the time, if you buy the book from the table of the creator, they sign it for free. I very seldom come across a creator who says, if you buy it from me at the show, I won't sign it, or I'll charge you for the signature. Right? Great example of this one was Eric Powell. Right? I bought Lester of Lesser Gods from him at a show, and he signed like 5 Goon books for me for free. Because I bought the book for him.
Yeah,
Jeremy Shore, you know as well as I do, any rule you make in comics, the exception is Neil Adams.
The funny story I got about signing, and I've probably told this before, but Dr. Christie and Garrett came down here on their Good Boy tour, and we had talked to them beforehand. You know, we were going to take them out to dinner and all that. And Garrett's like, yeah, y'all bring your stuff. We'll sign it for you. I said, okay. We have a lot of Garrett and Dr. Christie's stuff, y'all. So I was sitting there and I was just like culling it and just making sure, because I didn't want to be that person that brings every single one of my books to him. But we get there. I hand Garrett my stack and he looks at me. He goes, is this all you have? I said, well, no. He goes, you don't live far from here, right? I said, no. He goes, go home and get everything.
Right.
I said, okay.
Right. And so that's the other part of this, right? When guys are indie, when they're small, they'll do a lot more of that stuff. When you get to Neil Adams, it becomes a different thing. But again, TJ, how do they know that? Right? It's how do they know that that's what you're doing and you're not just getting it to put it on eBay? How do they know that you're honoring them? Because I agree with you. Like, one of my favorite stories from my weird life that I've had is when I got to meet Alan Alda. And it was a weird situation where I got to meet Alan Alda, but I got to talk to him about how part of the reason I took theater training and I took acting training and I learned speech and I did these things that went on to become important in my career in broadcasting was because of an episode of MASH he did called Sometimes You Hear the Bullet, where it went from very funny, very light, very heavy to very heavy, very, realistic, very emotional at a flip of a switch. And I went, I want to know how to do that. So I was able to tell him this, and he hands me a book called If I Understood You, Would I Have This Look on My Face? Which he had written about science communication. And he signs it to me, to Kyle, Sometimes You Hear the Bullet, Alan Alda. Okay. That book will never leave my collection. Because I was able to explain to him how I was honoring him by buying his work. That. Right. So I was able to explain to him how I was honoring him by buying his work. But in all the times I've hung out with Scotty Young, I've never been able to do that to Scotty. Right? It's a different thing because it's a different type of situation, different type of relationship. So how do these creators know that what you're intending to do is to honor them by having bought their book? The way I think they know is when you buy it from them at the show. there is one exception to this, me being okay with this. And I wasn't going to name the creator, and I still might not. But there was an artist who years ago had a sign that said, single day badge, autographs this much, remarks this much, sketches this much. 3-day badge, autographs this much, remarks this much, sketches this much. Exhibitor badge, autographs this much, remarks this much, sketches this much. Pro badge, so on and so forth, right? Where they were charging a different rate based on the badge you had to get into the show. So even though I was a fan and I had fully intended to get a commission from him, because I was there as a professional and I had a pro badge, I was having to pay nearly triple what somebody with a 1-day badge would have. That's trash. And that happens because that guy has been burned so many times by flippers and scalpers and people who are trying to make a buck off of his name that he could no longer trust people who were there professionally to be fans. Right? And I think he also, and I gave him a little bit of credit for saying, okay, if you have a 1-day badge, maybe you couldn't afford a 3-day badge. So you're coming for 1 day and you're just trying to get the most out of it. I'm going to charge you a little less. There was certainly, in talking to them later, that was certainly part of it. And I will give them credit for that. Right? If you can only afford 1 day of a convention, the people shouldn't be taking you for a ride. But I went, man, I was here because I was in business meetings the whole time. Like, I sat through a day's worth of really boring business meetings for this convention, and I was excited to get a sketch from you. And you wanted to tell me because I have a pro badge, not an exhibitor, a pro badge, that I should have to pay more? That just rubbed me the wrong way. So that's the one exception I have to let him charge what the market will hold. Okay. I want to talk about this one more time. Neal Adams never charged me for a signature, ever. Not once. He would literally charge me to stand at his table, but never for a signature. If you were friends with Neal, he would take care of you, but he was always going to get his. I got to know Neal very well over several years at C2E2s and Motor Cities and Baltimore's and shows. So I was seeing him 3, 4, 5 times a year. We got to know each other really well. And he liked that I never wanted to talk to him about comics. I always wanted to talk to him about advertising. Because I knew he had a passion for advertising. And so we talked about advertising. We talked about that show Cosmos. We talked about astrophysics. We talked about everything other than comics. And Neal would charge me, again, if I wanted a print, I wasn't getting a discount. If I wanted a book, I wasn't getting a discount. But he would, while people were ringing me out, he would go, oh, he's just buying the book. And then he'd quickly sign it and hand it to me. Right? Like, it was one of those things that rapport with these creators goes a long way, right? I think if you can become friendly with somebody, maybe they'll help you out on your signature cost, right? If you can become genuinely friendly. Like, it was one of my favorite things to go over and talk to Neal. Like, I'd go over to him before the show opened and say, hey, Neal, did you see the new print ad for such and such and such and such? Man, the kerning on that font, they should stab somebody for that. And he'd know what I was talking about, and we would talk about it. Like, because I took a personal interest in something he was interested in, because we established a rapport, I think it helped. I have other creator friends who, because I have a rapport with them, will charge me extra. Looking at you, Manning.
Oh, good old Dirk.
Nah, I'm giving him a hard time. He called me today to check up on me. I have of two minds of this, to be honest. My biggest issue is the guy that did an Image book years ago. That would be a challenge for anyone to remember. Sure. And again, a lot of those guys don't charge, or if they do charge, they're only charging for CGC, or they're only charging for stuff like that, right? That's the other thing I see a lot of is people going free signatures free, CGC witnessed $10, right? That kind of thing. So if you're just getting it signed for you, it's no charge. But if you're getting it witnessed for CGC or for grading, it's $10. One that comes to mind for me with that is Jeff Isherwood. Jeff would sign any book you wanted for free, but if you bought art and were getting it graded, you had to pay $5. I get it, TJ, but how does he know that? How does he know you enjoyed the book? How does he? These guys have expenses. Cons are not bringing them in, especially if it's a guy who did an Image book that nobody remembers years ago. Odds are they're paying for their table. They're paying for their hotel. They're paying for their travel. They're just like anybody else in Artist Alley. So how else are they going to make their money back if not charging for a signature? Are they supposed to lose money at a convention just to make us happy? Well, that doesn't make any business sense. So again, I think I get what you're saying. I was talking to somebody today about Vince Locke. American Freaks is one of my favorite books ever. Don't nobody remember American Freaks but me and Vince Locke. If Vince were to charge me for signing that book, would I be a little bummed? Yes. But I would absolutely understand why he had to do it. Because for everybody who brings him a Caliber Comics Presents #2 to sign and then puts it on eBay, there's nobody bringing him anything else. They're not bringing him Dead World or any of those things. So he's got to make his money where he can, and that's by charging for signatures on books. Yeah. Rich, we're actually going to wrap up too. I've only got a few minutes before they come and stick me. So we're going to call it a night here as well. Maybe we'll continue this conversation next week. And maybe I will get some more input on it. But tune in tomorrow night. Again, we have What's in the Box with Liam. We have Geek Chat with myself and Brian Garside from Manage Comics. We have Sketch Up with Mel and Mog. Then Friday at 1, myself and Jeremy Shore in the chat will be going through FOC for you. Guys, Jeremy has been doing this longer than Matthias and I combined. If there's anybody who knows the importance of FOC, it's a guy who was around before it existed. So, that's a thing. So I'm interested to hear what he has to say about FOC and how he looks at FOC. Maybe differently than Matthias and I do. Then Nikki is off. Nick is trying to get to San Diego. I don't know if he's going to make it or not, but he's trying to. So he's off this week. Nancy will be here with her normal fun. We're going to see based on my situation if I'm here on Sunday or not. I'm guessing not, but we'll see. We gonna talk about that. I love that story. I love that story. I mean, I don't love that you went through it, but I love that history of why this stuff matters. I don't think enough people know it. Then on Monday, Comic Collectibles with Rex will be back. Hopefully Jay and I will be here with Second Shift Lunch doing some kind of thing. And then Bronze and Bigby are off on Monday. So there will be no Best Coast Comics next Monday. I know why there won't be any Best Coast Comics, but Bronze's daughter doesn't, so I'm not going to say it out loud. She will be very excited for the answer. Then Tuesday, Minute to Skim It will be back as normal, as will Welcome to Wonderland and Kicking It with the On Rizzle. Then next Wednesday, Comic Collectibles will be our lead on, and we will be back discussing creators signing fees and what are, maybe that's the topic. What's a reasonable cost for something at a convention? Like, what do you guys find to be reasonable cost for remarks or sketches or signatures? And we'll have that conversation.
Yeah.
Jeremy, I don't mean it was a great time. I mean it was a great time in the same way that like the Civil War was a great time, in that if you can look at it from history as a moment in history, it's certainly an interesting time. But it wasn't great for anybody who lived it. You know, let's put it this way. It was a great time if you're reading Redcoat right now.
Okay. Yeah.
It wasn't a great time for anybody who actually lived it. So it sure wasn't. But again, not a lot of people can give us that history, man. And I'm excited to hear you. I'm excited to talk to you about FOC and the value of FOC and why it's important. So tune in for that. I may still be here. I may not. We'll see. But I will see everybody further on down the road. Jay, we'll see you later. Be good to each other. Pray for the world. We'll talk soon.